The way it's designed and structured, it's there to humiliate you. You don't have time to fight amongst yourselves when you're fighting against the people who are trying to put you to death. If you don't keep yourself occupied or focus on a specific thing, then you'll lose your mind. The day I was condemned and the day I went to prison, the same thing was going through my head. Nothing. I was so in shock and so in trauma during both of these times that all I could do was just put one foot in front of another. The best way to describe it is if you've ever been punched in the head, you know it doesn't register as pain immediately. A lot of the times, it's like a bright flash of light or the sound of thunder, and you're just incredibly disorientated. Just listen to someone sentence you to death. It's just like being repeatedly and consistently punched in the head over and over again. Prison is something else. The way it's designed and structured, it's there to humiliate you and diminish you in different ways. It strips you of your identity and your humanity, just reducing you to a number, another inmate, another criminal. It reduces your self-worth and just overall creates a environment and a feeling of hopelessness that's just hard to rebuild. Something I think not a lot of people understand about prison is just how segregated everything is. Oftentimes you're bunking with someone of your race, white, black, Hispanic, but you don't really interact with people outside of your race and by your family. You're stuck in that system, in that sphere, that family. You have to be careful of the so-called friends you have inside there as well, and especially of doing favors for other people, because that's how you get in trouble. Just stay away from favors or gambling or drugs. You can easily do drugs in prison when you're inside. You can live similar to how you live outside. You can pretty much get anything you want, for the right price that is. It just costs a lot more, and you don't want to be selling yourself to pay for that, because you never want to owe people any kind of money or favors. But overall, the way it works is you stop thinking about it. Everything just becomes routine, and you can pretty much get used to anything. It's basically like one long nightmare. You never forget where you are, and you just can't leave ever. Death row is a bit more different because there's a sense of solidarity amongst all the inmates that you just don't have anywhere else inside the prison or the general population. I think the reason is because everyone there, they have a common enemy. You don't have time to fight amongst yourselves when you're fighting against the people who are trying to put you to death. One of the most important prison rules for your survival and your well-being is just don't disrespect anyone. Keep your mouth shut, your head down, don't speak to anyone, don't accept any offers or bribes, because the next thing you know is you owe someone something. And when you're in prison, you don't want to owe anyone anything. Another thing is if someone's giving you a hard time or someone's threatening you, you don't have any choice but to fight them. You have to fight back, otherwise you're going to be labelled as weak and become prey for the pack. If you don't fight, then you're going to earn yourself a bad reputation, and things will just start to get worse and worse, and honestly, you won't be able to survive in prison. It's just that constant fear, that free-flowing anxiety of dealing with an entirely new world. something completely different to normal, but then it becomes normal. Everything changes when you're inside prison. So even then, when you come out and attempt to rehabilitate, not only do you have to learn old things, but you also have to learn completely new things. And one of those new things being how to navigate the outside world. When you've been in a box for however long, moving from point A to point B becomes something very difficult after you release. You essentially have to learn how to walk again, because you're so used to shuffling around with chains on your feet for everywhere you go, that when you go out again and you're finally free from those chains, you're just constantly tripping over yourself and tripping down stairs and just tripping over things. It's just little things like that where you learn to walk without chains, and when you learn to live without prison. Oh man, food. When you come out of prison, you have to get used to the food out here. Because when you're in prison, there's no salt, there's no pepper, there's no butter, there's no cheese, there's a flavoring of any kind. The food is just incredibly bland. It's just there to sustain you. Your borderline's mush. But when you come outside, it's just packed with flavor. Everything has a strong, vibrant taste to it. When all the food is practically exploding with flavor, it just makes you want to eat more. When I first got out, I was obsessed with Japanese, and I ate almost nothing else for a while. Then after a few months, it was Italian. But when I first got out, the thing I craved most was fruit. In prison, there's no fruit. The administration they say you can't have fruit because you can make alcohol out of it. And I hadn't had fresh fruit in so many years, and I just wanted to carry on eating it just to make up for lost time. Fruit was amazing, I have to say. I'd probably say the hardest thing to overcome in prison is the stagnation. There aren't many opportunities for growth or self-development in that kind of environment. You have to really seek out new ways of expanding your horizons. You could usually do this through things like reading, through writing, painting, and other forms of self-expression. But in that place, you have to stimulate yourself, and all these things, reading and writing, they're just amazing avenues to occupy your mind. If you don't keep yourself occupied or focus on a specific thing, then you lose your mind. You break. It's as simple as that. There were so many things that I saw and experienced that disturbed me that I barely even know where to begin. A lot of it would have been the executions. There were between 25 and maybe 30 executions during the time I was on death row. But other things, I once saw two men stabbed repeatedly. I've seen men beaten so bad that they were unrecognizable after they were done with them. I saw a man who had been burned with homemade napalm. I could sit here and just tell you all about them, but the list goes on and on. I saw a lot of things in my time in prison that I'll carry with me to my dying day. A lot of them, they weren't very pleasant, and they very much leave a mark on you. Prison, prison really just teaches you the virtue of patience and just waiting for things to pass. And I guess it might be a bit of a cliche, but it really just taught me. Prison really just taught me how important it is to live life to the fullest.